The first time Ava Ramirez met billionaire Gabriel Stone, she didn't even realize who he was. She only saw a man who looked like he hadn't slept in days, a man holding a little girl whose tears had soaked through his expensive suit. They stood in the doorway of Willow Lane Children's Library, where Ava volunteered every Saturday, sorting books for kids who needed a safe place to stay for a few hours. The little girl, thin, delicate, with tangled golden curls, hid behind Gabriel's pant leg, clutching a fuzzy stuffed bear. "Hi, sweetheart," Ava said gently, kneeling down so she wouldn't seem tall or intimidating. "I'm Ava. What's your name?" The girl peeked out with watery eyes. "Aria. A soft name for a soft child." Ava smiled. "That's beautiful." Aria inched closer, still gripping her bear. "Can we read?" "Of course," Ava said. "That's what we're here for." But Gabriel didn't move. He stood frozen, one hand around his daughter, his jaw tight, as if holding back the entire weight of his private world. His suit looked freshly pressed, but his expression exhausted. "You work here?" he asked quietly. Ava shook her head. "Volunteer. Saturdays are my favorite." He exhaled, something easing in his shoulders. "Aria hasn't spoken to anyone all week, except me." Ava's chest tightened. "Anything happen?" He didn't look at her when he answered. "Her mother left 2 months ago, no warning." Ava swallowed. No wonder the child clung so tightly. "Come on," she whispered to Aria. "I have a special reading corner. Only the bravest kids go there." Aria hesitated, looked up at her father, then nodded. Ava offered her hand gently. Aria reached for it. A spark passed through both Gabriel and Ava at that tiny gesture, the trust of a frightened child freely given. Ava led Aria to the reading nook, a small carpet shaped like a cloud, surrounded by shelves filled with picture books and soft pillows. Aria climbed onto the carpet, cross-legged, clutching her bear. Ava picked a book with colorful animals. "This one." Aria nodded. She began reading, doing silly voices for each animal, exaggerated gasps and tiny roars. Aria didn't laugh at first. She only watched deeply, eyes wide, lips parted slightly. But slowly, very slowly, the corners of her mouth curled. She leaned into Ava's arm. By the 3rd page, she was smiling, and Gabriel, sitting silently on a chair just behind them, looked like he was witnessing something he hadn't seen in far too long. His daughter smiling. Ava finished the book, and Aria crawled into her lap without hesitation. The movement startled Ava, but she held the child naturally, instinctively, as though she had held her 1,000 times before. She could feel Gabriel's gaze on her. Not sharp, not assessing, soft, searching. Aria traced the cover of the book with a small finger. "Mommy used to read like this." Ava looked up sharply, meeting Gabriel's eyes. He froze. Ava opened her mouth to speak, to correct, to gently redirect the child, but then something unexpected happened. Aria wrapped her tiny arms around Ava's neck, tucked her head under Ava's chin, and whispered, barely audible, "Mommy." Ava's body went still. Her heart lurched painfully. She felt Gabriel rise slightly from his chair, but he didn't say a word. He didn't correct her. He didn't tell Aria she was wrong. He didn't pull her away. He just stood there, stunned and silent, his breath caught in his chest, his eyes usually guarded, unreadable, filled with something raw, something grateful, something aching. Ava held Aria instinctively, her hands trembling. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "I'm not your—" But the child only hugged tighter, burying her face deeper against Ava. Ava's throat tightened. She looked at Gabriel again. He was still frozen in place, not resisting, not denying, not stepping forward. Instead, his face softened, completely, like a man seeing a miracle he didn't dare interrupt. Ava's voice cracked. "Gabriel," he swallowed hard. "Let her, just for a moment." Ava's eyes burned. Arya didn't let go. She clung to Ava with the desperation of a child who had been abandoned and didn't understand why. Slowly, carefully, Ava rocked her, fingers brushing the girl's tiny back. Arya's breathing steadied. Her shoulders relaxed. Her little voice mumbled against Ava's collarbone. "I missed you." Ava felt her heart split in two. This wasn't pretend. This wasn't confusion. This was a wound Arya didn't know how to hide. Ava looked at Gabriel again this time with a mix of question and pain. "Why didn't you say anything?" she whispered. Gabriel's jaw clenched, his voice shaking for the first time Ava had ever heard. "Because this is the first time she's held someone since her mother left." His breath trembled. "And because it's the first time she's smiled like this." Ava held Arya tighter, unable to speak. Gabriel stepped forward, slow, deliberate, not to take his daughter away, but to kneel beside them. He touched Arya's hair gently, his hand brushing Ava's. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, something neither of them had words for. Arya sighed contentedly, drifting into sleep in Ava's arms. Ava's voice was barely a whisper. "Gabriel, what do you want me to do?" His eyes softened in a way that made Ava's heart tremble. "Just stay," he whispered. "Just stay." A request so simple, so fragile, so full of longing. And Ava knew then, this wasn't just about Arya. This wasn't just about comfort. This was the beginning of something dangerous, something tender, something neither of them had expected, but both of them felt deeply. Ava didn't move for several seconds, not because she was unsure of what to do, but because Arya's tiny fingers were curled so tightly into her shirt that she was afraid any sudden movement would wake the little girl from the first peaceful moment she'd had in weeks. Gabriel noticed. "Here," he murmured softly, placing a folded library blanket over Arya's shoulders. His hands brushed Ava's again, accidental, gentle, enough to send a quiet shiver through her. Ava whispered, "She shouldn't be sleeping on me like this. She'll get too attached." Gabriel's voice dropped to something raw. "She already is." Ava swallowed. "That's not fair to her." "It isn't," he agreed, sitting beside them on the carpeted nook. But nothing about her mother leaving was fair, and nothing about what she needs right now is simple. Arya shifted slightly, settling deeper into Ava's arms. Her small body trusted without hesitation, without question, without fear, a trust that had clearly been starving. Ava brushed her fingers gently over Arya's curls. "She must be so confused." "She is," Gabriel said, "but she sees something in you she hasn't seen in a long time." "What's that?" Ava whispered. Warmth flickered in his eyes. "Safety." Ava felt tears sting the backs of her eyes. "I shouldn't be the one giving it to her." "Then who?" he asked almost sharply. "I'm trying, Ava. God knows I'm trying. But some nights she cries so hard, my chest feels like it's breaking open, and I don't know what else to do." Ava looked at him not as a billionaire, not as a headline, not as a polished executive, as a father, a broken one, a desperate one, a man who would trade every dollar he owned if it meant his daughter wouldn't go to bed grieving. "I don't want to confuse her," Ava whispered, "or make her think I'm something I'm not." Gabriel's gaze deepened. "Maybe you're exactly what she needs." Ava's breath hitched. He wasn't talking about the story time moment anymore. He was talking about something bigger, something he wasn't ready to name. The air between them tightened, warm and fragile. "Gabriel," she began, but he shook his head. "I'm not asking you for anything." His voice was quiet but steady. "I'm not asking you to fill a role or replace anyone. He exhaled, rubbing a hand over his face. "I just haven't seen her look this peaceful since the day she was born." Ava's chest ached. She looked down at Arya, whose breaths were soft and steady, her cheek pressed against Ava's shoulder. She looked safe. She looked loved, finally loved. And Ava realized it didn't matter what the world expected or what boundaries she'd insisted on holding. In this moment, a little girl needed her, and she wasn't the kind of woman who turned away from that. She eased herself into a more comfortable position, adjusting Arya carefully so the girl could sleep without straining. As she did, Gabrielle reached out instinctively to help support Arya's head. Their hands met warm, steady, lingering a moment too long. Neither pulled away. "Ava," he whispered, voice nearly trembling. "I don't know what this is, but I know what it feels like." She stared at him, heart pounding. "And what does it feel like?" His eyes softened with a truth he couldn't hide anymore. "It feels right." The words stole her breath. For a moment, for a fragile, dangerous moment. They weren't a billionaire and a volunteer. They were two people sitting on a library floor, holding a child who needed them both. And in that closeness, in that shared silence, something shifted. Something softened. Something opened. Ava didn't push away. Gabriel didn't hide. Arya mumbled in her sleep, tightening her arms around Ava's neck. And Gabriel's gaze filled with the kind of emotion a man only allowed to surface once in a lifetime. Ava whispered, "What do we do now?" Gabrielle answered without hesitation, "We stay, not as a promise, not as a demand, but as a beginning."